As many times as I'm accused of being a cop hater by those who, in my opinion, have an unhealthy view and strangely cultic soft spot for the abusive law enforcement profession, I want to make it clear that I don't hate anybody. When we talk about the policies and actions of politicians and cops, the critique comes from a desire to see real justice happen. Innocent Americans are harassed every day by agents of the state who claim to be protecting and serving them. And it turns out that a lot of these protectors and servants have some serious psychological problems. So they're the last ones who should be granted unbridled authority and a gun. Yesterday, I did a video on Special Forces Deputy Josh Barker. He sat there in his patrol cruiser in full uniform and attempted to convey the idea that not all cops are bad, and he couldn't even convince us or himself that he's one of the good cops.
And I'm not saying I'm a good cop. I'm not a bad cop, but I know I'm a good cop, actually.
Unwittingly, Mr. Barker revealed the exact reason that the claim is made that all cops are bad. Cops are bad because they swear to enforce all laws, including the unjust and evil ones.
As law enforcement, you place law enforcement to enforce all the laws and all the laws equally.
What I failed to mention in the last video is that there's another concern that routinely comes up when we're talking about these humans in costumes. Oftentimes, you'll find that they are former military with some seriously messed up minds. Under his last video, Deputy Josh Barker admits, quote, after spending 13 years in the Army, 10 in Special Forces, I was diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety, and depression. Quite a few former military members have pointed out that there are people who get a diagnosis like that so they can suck off the government for the rest of their lives. But there are many who actually do have serious psychological problems resulting from mental and physical stressors they were subjected to during their stint in the military. And the sad part, the really sad part, is that the mental state of some of these vets is so bad that 20 to 30 of them decide to end their lives every single day. So PTSD is no joke. These people need to be cared for. When they tell you they have PTSD, anxiety, and depression, take them seriously and get them some help. The problem is, instead of giving them the help that they need, the leaders of cities and counties give them guns, authority, and qualified immunity. And that seems like a really, really bad idea. We've got a lot of cops out there doing some really bad things on a continual basis. How many of them are suffering from PTSD, anxiety, and depression? 6 members of the Rankin County, Georgia Police Goon Squad were just sentenced to prison from 15 to 45 years for doing unspeakable things to 2 black guys. How many of those are former military? How many of them had PTSD or were possibly on psych drugs? Over 25% of American police have military backgrounds. Barker further says under his video that, quote, I spent the last 11 years rebuilding myself into a better person. And that's really good to hear. I commend him for that. But maybe it's not such a good idea to experiment on the American people as a cop while you're in the process of rebuilding. Thankfully, there are a lot of people who saw through Barker's BS. The video has a high dislike ratio, and the comments are profound and insightful. This guy says, bad teachers, electricians, engineers, and even doctors and nurses don't routinely take people's freedom, intentionally, physically, or financially harm them, or even kill them. When and if they do, they are held responsible and don't have any immunity. Neither should you. Cops spout out about body cams, but most of us perform our jobs under constant scrutiny, even cameras, and do our jobs without complaining about it. If our performance is poor, much less abusive or fraudulent, we are not given time off with pay. This one says, I don't respect law enforcement. The average officer will not stop another officer violating someone's rights. They will back that officer, mute their body cam, shut it off, and lie to cover. And check out this story. I'm a 71-year-old man, and one morning I looked out my window and saw 2 cop cars come sliding into my driveway, get out, and put handcuffs on my sweet little old lady wife. Neither of us have ever been in any trouble, not even a traffic ticket in over 40 years. So I was very shocked. I went out and calmly asked them why they were doing that, and when they didn't reply, I walked over to the car they had thrown her in. Well, I guess I wasn't supposed to do that, so they jumped me from behind, knocked me in the head, and knocked me out cold. Then they began kicking me from head to toe while I was out. I still have brain damage and stutter when I try to talk. Then, after I woke up, they threw me into the other car and took me to jail. They charged me with assault on a police officer, even though I never even tried to resist or fight. I was railroaded by the cops, their friend the judge, and even my public defender into a plea deal. I was threatened with 5 years in prison if I didn't accept. So, from an old man who used to support law enforcement blindly, I can say I do not trust cops at all, period. I have seen so many videos of corrupt cops doing bad things while their blue line buddies stand around and do nothing to stop it. Of course, there are bad apples in every job, but now I believe almost all cops are corrupt, not just a few bad apples. Here's the comment I left for Barker. Nearly every single sheriff in the country signed on to Sheriff Jim Skinner's letter from the National Sheriff's Association telling Dan Crenshaw to kill H.R. 1525. This bill would have dramatically reduced the evil done to people by sheriff's deputies through civil asset forfeiture or legalized armed robbery. Civil asset forfeiture enables law enforcement agents to steal your property and your cash without charge, trial, or due process of law. Billions are seized from innocent Americans each year in the name of stopping the Mexican drug cartels. Drug cartels aren't our problem. Widespread domestic terrorism at the hands of the thin blue line and in the name of protect and serve is. Change my mind, Josh. I'll be doing a response video to your video. And if you missed that video, I'll leave a link in the description and the pinned comment. Joe says, people used to respect cops. Ask yourself, what changed? If you continue to serve the man instead of the people, don't expect support. And the only reason to call the cops when somebody breaks into your home is so they can come draw chalk lines. This one says, sadly, in some departments these days, maybe it's all, the majority are that punk that got picked on in high school that wants to be the bully now. There are a lot of other comments like this. No such thing as a good cop. If good cops existed, bad ones wouldn't. And have you done anything about the bad cops you know? Talking to Barker, that makes you a bad cop. So what do you think? Is there such a thing as good cops? And if there are good cops, wouldn't they be spending the majority of their time weeding out the bad cops from their department? And if they did try to do that, do you think that they would get widespread support from within the department? Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below. I will leave the link in the description and the pinned comment to the last video I did, along with the link to Sheriff Jim Skinner's letter to Dan Crenshaw to please kill H.R. 1525. We need civil asset forfeiture. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. If you want to support the channel further, grab a shirt, become a channel member, but more importantly, know what your rights are and stand for your rights. If you don't, you will definitely lose them. I'll see you in the next video.